Empires are rarely announced when they begin. They do not appear overnight with a crown, a throne, or a declaration to the world. Most of the time, they begin with something much smaller. At the end of the 19th century, the United States was still a young country compared to the European powers. Most Americans believed their nation was meant to expand across the North American continent, but not far beyond it. The Atlantic and Pacific Oceans seemed like natural borders. Yet within just a few years, that idea would change forever. And it began with a war that lasted only 4 months. In 1898, Cuba was fighting for independence from Spain. Spain had ruled the island for centuries, but by the late 1800s, the Cuban independence movement had grown into a full rebellion. American newspapers began publishing dramatic stories about Spanish soldiers forcing Cuban civilians into camps where many died from starvation and disease. These reports spread across the United States and fueled public outrage. Whether every detail was true or not hardly mattered anymore. The country was already being pulled toward war. Then, on the night of February 15, 1898, the American battleship USS Maine exploded in Havana Harbor. The blast tore the ship apart and killed 266 American sailors. No one knew what had caused the explosion. Investigations would debate it for decades. But in the days that followed, newspapers across the United States ran massive headlines blaming Spain. "Remember the Maine" became a rallying cry, and the pressure for war became impossible to ignore. In April 1898, the United States declared war on Spain. While that war was just beginning, American officials quietly made another move thousands of miles away. In Hong Kong, they met with a Filipino revolutionary leader named Emilio Aguinaldo. Aguinaldo had already been fighting Spain in the Philippines for years. American officials told him that if he helped the United States defeat Spain, the Philippines would gain its independence. Aguinaldo agreed. He returned to the islands aboard a U.S. Navy ship and resumed the fight against Spanish forces. Within months, Spanish power across its remaining colonies began to collapse. In Manila Bay, an American fleet destroyed every Spanish warship it faced, without losing a single ship of its own. In Cuba, Spanish resistance crumbled just as quickly. The entire war lasted barely 4 months. When it ended, Spain signed the Treaty of Paris in December 1898. Spain gave up control of Cuba. It handed over Puerto Rico and Guam. And for $20 million, it transferred the Philippines to the United States. On paper, Cuba became independent. But the agreement allowed the United States to send troops back whenever it wanted, and forced Cuba to accept a permanent American naval base at Guantanamo Bay. The Philippines, however, did not become independent at all. It simply passed from one empire to another. For the Filipino revolutionaries who had fought Spain, believing independence was coming, the realization came quickly and violently. On February 4, 1899, an American soldier standing guard on a bridge in Manila fired his rifle at a Filipino soldier approaching the line. Within hours, fighting erupted across the city. What began as a single shot turned into a war that would last more than a decade. Many of the American soldiers sent to the Philippines had only recently finished fighting in the Indian Wars in the American West. The tactics they had used there followed them across the Pacific. Villages suspected of helping insurgents were burned. Crops and food supplies were destroyed to cut off support for guerrilla fighters. Entire populations were forced into camps. Prisoners were sometimes subjected to a form of torture known as the water cure, where water was forced down a prisoner's throat until he spoke or passed out. The conflict became especially brutal on the island of Samar. After Filipino fighters killed 48 American soldiers in a surprise attack, an American general issued an order that shocked even some of his own men. He told his troops to kill every male over the age of 10. By the time the war was officially declared over in 1902, more than 4,000 American soldiers and roughly 20,000 Filipino fighters had died. But the larger tragedy was among civilians. The camps, the burned villages, and the destroyed food supplies contributed to a humanitarian disaster that killed as many as 1 million Filipino civilians. Fighting in remote regions continued for years afterward. The Philippines would remain under American control for 44 years until independence finally arrived in 1946. Puerto Rico and Guam, two of the territories gained in the same treaty, remain American territories even today. But the story of American power expanding across the world did not end there. In fact, the next moment that reshaped the global balance of power would come nearly half a century later, during the most destructive war in human history. By June 1944, World War II had already been raging for nearly 5 years. Nazi Germany controlled most of Europe. Cities across the continent had been bombed into ruins. On the Eastern Front, the Soviet Union had been fighting the German army in battles so massive that millions of soldiers were dying. For years, Soviet leaders had been demanding that the United States and Britain open a second front in Western Europe to force Germany to split its forces. Finally, the Allies prepared the largest amphibious invasion in history. In England, they built an entire fake army to trick the Germans. Inflatable tanks were placed in fields. Wooden airplanes were parked on airstrips. Fake radio messages were broadcast across the countryside to convince German intelligence that the invasion would land far from its real target. The deception worked so well that even after the real invasion began, German commanders kept an entire army waiting in the wrong place for weeks. Before dawn on June 6, 1944, thousands of paratroopers jumped behind enemy lines in northern France. Their mission was to seize roads and bridges so German reinforcements could not reach the beaches. Then the Armada arrived. More than 5,000 ships and 11,000 aircraft carried about 160,000 Allied soldiers across the English Channel to the beaches of Normandy. At several landing sites, the bombardment from ships and aircraft damaged German defenses before the troops came ashore. But at Omaha Beach, the bombing missed most of its targets. German machine gun nests were still intact when the first landing craft opened. When the front doors of those boats dropped, the soldiers inside stepped directly into gunfire. Many men were hit before they could even reach the water. Others drowned under the weight of their equipment. Those who made it onto the beach crawled forward through sand filled with explosions and bullets. By the time the first day of the invasion ended, about 4,400 Allied soldiers had been killed. But the invasion had succeeded. Over the next 2 months, Allied forces fought their way slowly through the thick farmland of Normandy. Every hedgerow, every field, every village became a small battlefield. Breaking out of Normandy cost the United States about 125,000 soldiers killed or wounded. From there, the Allied armies pushed across France toward Germany. In December 1944, Germany launched one last massive counterattack through the snowy forests of the Ardennes, in what became known as the Battle of the Bulge. In just 6 weeks, 90,000 American soldiers were killed or wounded, but Germany had spent its final strength. By May 1945, the war in Europe was over. The destruction left behind was almost impossible to measure. More than 180,000 Americans had died in the European War. France had lost over 500,000 people. Cities across the continent were shattered ruins, and millions of civilians had lost their homes. After the First World War, the victorious powers had punished Germany with crushing economic demands. 20 years later, the world found itself fighting an even more devastating conflict. This time, the United States made a different choice. Instead of forcing defeated nations to pay for the war, the United States spent $13 billion rebuilding Europe through what became known as the Marshall Plan. American money helped rebuild factories, cities, and infrastructure across countries that had only recently been battlefields. At the same time, the United States helped create NATO, supported the formation of the United Nations, and helped build the global financial and trade systems that still shape the world today. And unlike after the First World War, the United States did not simply go home. Decades later, American troops are still stationed across Europe. If you want to hear more powerful stories like this, about the hidden turning points that shaped the modern world, make sure to subscribe to the channel to support the work and help us continue making deeper and more compelling videos in the future. And before we continue the story, here is a quick question for you. Which moment do you think truly marked the beginning of America's global empire? A. The victory in the Spanish-American War in 1898. B. The massive Allied invasion of Europe in 1944. C. The rebuilding of Europe after World War II. Comment A, B, or C below and let us know what you think.